Hey, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, we got ourselves a mess right now. I picked up this dual LED bull bar online, dirt cheap for $100. I'm gonna mount it on the front of this 2015 Ram 1500. Of course, the instructions are not that clear, so I have a problem in here. I've already taken out one of the tow hooks right here. The other one still has to come out because this hooks right onto the frame. But this piece that you guys can see right in here, it comes down a little bit too far past the main frame beam, so it has to be notched out. So that's what I'm going to be working on right now. I just kind of wanted to see what I was getting myself into before I started filming any content, but you guys haven't missed too much. One tow hook is off, the other one has to come off. I'm just going to notch and make sure everything has like a good fit before I get too far ahead of myself. The area that I said that I have to notch out is the distance between here and the bottom of the flange that's attached to the main beam. So I need to cut this up, cut all the way across, and cut down here. I'm gonna clean it all up. I'm gonna put a coat of Tremclad black rust paint just to cover that cut bare metal edge to help prevent any rusting. I get the truck oil sprayed anyway, so I'm not really too concerned about that once I paint it up. But once that area is notched out, it is going to look like this on this side. So you can see I've notched it up. I've cut this up on an angle here. Same thing with the other side. I've cut it right at the bottom of the flange where the main beam is. And the bracket, which is right here, you can see I have to do a little cut in the bracket. So I notched out this bracket because for whatever reason, this thing said it was for this year truck, but it obviously wasn't. This is supposed to go up like this, right? So that sits like that. I gotta put that, I gotta push back this bolt, but this basically sits flush like that. And yeah, that's basically it. I got both sides are cut out. I got 2 coats of Tremclad paint on both sides there, covering up all the bare metal parts. And next we're gonna do the install of the support brackets that connect to the main frame. This is the finished product. Dual 30-inch light bars. Everything's tied in, everything's bolted up nice. I've zip tied the cables there because it's getting late and I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Because it's gonna be a nice day out. So I'll do that outside, but there she is. It's kind of cold out, so we're doing this inside again today. We're gonna be installing a wiring harness and some toggles somewhere in the dash at an appropriate handy spot. So we'll figure that out, cut out a spot, install those, run the wiring through the firewall, hook up the lights. This is a 2-lead harness because I have 2 lights, so they need 2 leads. That goes into a relay and everything hooks up to the battery. So we'll do that and I'll show you guys what's up. All right, so I'll show you guys what I got here. I ordered some of these connectors because the light bars came with these 2-pin connectors. So on eBay, I bought basically other sets of these so I could have something that plugs into these. So since this is a 2-lead, the wiring harness came with these connections right here. I didn't want those because these have a weather stripping in here. So it's just like a lot better for corrosion and stuff like that. So I'm gonna install these, cut these off, you know, strip the wire casings back, and then I'm gonna solder these connections together and heat shrink them. So here I was just identifying, you know, positive and negatives. So as you can see, here's my switch that's going to be installed in the dash. So I got the back of that all hooked up. This is all going to be grounded out to this grounding bolt right here. So if we turn this on and I touch the terminal, you could see that we have light, right? So the switches light up. So everything's good. So I'm going to work on soldering these connections up and running the wire and zip tying it so it's permanently affixed in the engine bay. Alright, so in the vise I have the 2-wire connector hooked up to our harness. I've trimmed the wires and cut everything back. I've put the 2 heat shields on so we can heat those up and shrink them down later. And I'm just going to put some flux on that and then get it all heated up and solder those connections together. All right, so I got everything connected underneath and zip tied up. You can see the wire that's coming up right here. Everything comes up here. I've detached the other part of the harness to bring that through the firewall. So as you can see, it goes to this little grommet piece up here, and I have it zip tied up here. I have the instrument panel trim taken off. So I have these wires, they're going to be routed up through here, and it's going to be mounted on the trim piece, basically right in this spot here. So you can see that spot right there. So that's where the lights toggles are going to be. So I'm going to mark and cut that out, and hopefully we'll have a nice fit and finish. Okay, so as you can see here, we got the trim piece cut out. It's back in. I have the wires that are coming through the firewall. They're all hooked up here. I just have to pressure fit this into the hole, and that's going to be its new home. And if we come around here, underneath here, the positives are hooked up. Since I'm running 2 harnesses, because I have the dual bull bar LEDs, I also have another harness that's going to be running a 50-inch curved light bar that's going to be mounted above the windshield, which I'm still going to be getting brackets and stuff before I install that. So what I did to differentiate the harnesses for the dual mount, I put 2 zip ties here, so if there's something wrong, I don't have to try and find out which harness is which. And I have 1 zip tie on this one, so if a fuse is gone or something's not working, I can easily identify which harness is which. So there's 1 here and there's 2 on here. All that's left is to screw these relays. I'm going to use this plastic piece right here, screw these relays onto here, so everything's nice and neat in the engine bay. Okay, the relays I screwed in right here with self-tapping screws and some washers. Everything's nice and neat. I have my single lead for the single harness. It's going to be eventually run to the 50-inch bar once the brackets are in. This is all installed nice and flush here. That's the new home for that. And last thing to do is test it out. And they're both working. So what you guys are looking at right now is a wind diffuser that's just pressure fit between some of the heat dissipating fins on the back of this 50-inch bar. This is the product right here, made by Z-Roads. It's an LED bar wind diffuser. So everybody knows the whistling that these bars can give at highway speeds. So what this does, this is the underside, as the wind comes up over the windshield, it pushes the air down towards the vehicle instead of coming up around the light bar if this wasn't here and making a whistling sound as the air like vortexes through these heat dissipating fins. Fairly easy install, 1/8 of an inch drill bit, basically drilling I think 7 holes along here. The kit provides stainless steel rivets that you just put in with a rivet gun or a pneumatic rivet gun, and that attaches it along there for a nice secure fit. So it's a pretty easy job. Probably takes less than 5 minutes, but this is a great product if you're interested in putting in a light bar on your vehicle. I'd highly recommend it because the whistling sound is annoying. The only other way to really mitigate that noise is if you take vehicle weather stripping for like around doors. It's like a very small, kind of like a U-shaped channel. Usually there's like some type of silicone already in it, and you would have to cut it into lengths of the bar on the underside here and pressure it all on. So each one of the fins has that spline on. You know, for the amount of money that you're going to spend on the spline, this probably has a better fit and finish and overall professional look. So great product. If you're doing a project like this, I'd highly recommend it. They're, what did I pay for that? I think $90. So it's a very cheap option and it looks great. So these are our brackets for the 50-inch bar. We have to drill some holes into the frame here. This is just sitting on here loosely. So we'll cut back some of the weather stripping that's here, drill 2 holes that will secure this in. You can see the 2 holes right there. And it's fairly straightforward installation. We'll put in some nutserts, some stainless steel hardware, and we should be good to go. It'll be nice and weather tight. I'm gonna put some marine silicone so I won't have any issues down the road, and that should be that. I'll have you guys on time lapse and you guys can watch the progress. Okay, so as you can see here, we have the hardware mounted on both sides. Up next is mounting the light bar with the wind diffuser that I installed yesterday. Hey, so just a quick update right here. What I had to do is bend this bar a little bit because I noticed when I was trying to install the light, the front was lining up, but the back was off by a slight little gap. So I had to bend this plate right here, the cylinder, to make it line up with this part perfectly flush. So I just thought I'd explain that little bit. So if you look at it from the top, you can kind of see how it's angled. It's angled back from here. All right, so I forgot to put on the time lapse for this, but I got the bar installed. Everything's tightened down, everything looks good. I ran the wire down here. I have the weather stripping off. I had to cut off the connectors that came on this light bar because they were too big to put between the windshield and the A-pillar. But where I had the where I had the wire coiled up around here for the future windshield light bar that I'm installing today, I've uncoiled it. I've run it behind the battery inside this quarter panel behind the plastic for the, I guess, the battery tray. And it's running through this weather stripping. It's coming up here underneath this piece, the weather stripping, where the windshield wipers are attached to. And I'm going to be putting the connectors on this, and I'm just going to be putting on regular connectors in here because it's going to be hidden. I'm going to put the heat shrink on it. So these ones right here are going to have these types of connectors, the male end that goes into here, and then I'm going to heat shrink it all so everything's as watertight as possible, and then we should be good to go because, as you recall, we already have our switch that is wired up, so it's been wired the whole time and it's just been in the off position. All right, so you could see that I put on the male ends for the positive and the negative wire, and I have the red and black heat shrink on there. So I'm just going to heat shrink that down, and it should pretty much be plug and play to go into here. Hey, so all the heat shrinks in. I'll give you guys a close-up look here. So on each separate lead, the red and the black, I put in heat shrink on both sides. Then to bundle the ends together so no water goes from the OEM casings on each wire harness, I put a black heat shrink onto that, and then over the whole thing I did a clear, so I'm not worried about any water issues getting in here. Everything is perfectly sealed. So moment of truth, we're gonna flip it on. So there she is. She's bright, and I'll show you guys the wiring that is bundled up underneath the hood. All that's left here is to put on the strips for each side of the windshield, the weather stripping. Those just clip in, and then she's good to go. Okay, so the wiring comes down, as I said before, it comes through here. So I have this all zip tied up, comes underneath this weather stripping gap. I have the extra bundle of wire zip tied up there. So this is just suspended in here. And it, as I said, it runs behind this tray, the battery tray, and everything's all wired up here now perfectly. So we'll get the weather stripping on and then give you guys an overall look. And after that, I'm gonna post some pictures at the end of this video that will show just the bull bar, the headlights, the high beams, then with the bull bar on, and then just the light bar on, and then with both of them, I'll do that one morning on my way into work to show you guys the brightness level. Okay, so here's the overall look. You can see with the weather stripping on it, it has a very nice fit and finish. Next, I'll post pictures at the end of this video of the lights on in different configurations. And I just wanted to let you guys hear the inside of the vehicle. I'm going 115 kilometers per hour, so you could hear the wind noise. There's no whistling because I installed that wind diffuser. Zero wind noise. So it's a good investment if any of you guys are thinking about that. I'd highly suggest it. It beats dealing with all the spline and the other types of products that, you know, come on a spool. And, you know, sometimes it comes off, it blows off in the wind. There's lots of problems with it. The glue loses its tackiness over time. So this is a good permanent solution that's riveted on that you guys will, I think, like.
We pray for rain and thank him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in the plate, I guess that's why they call it God.